One is another word for pale. Pale describes a person or thing lacking in color or intensity. Her pale skin was prone to sunburns. One means unnaturally or sickly pale, often suggesting exhaustion, weakness, or melancholy. His skin had turned wan after being sick with the flu for 2 weeks. Both words describe a lack of color. Pale is a neutral description that can refer to anything with reduced color, while wan is typically used to describe a reduction in color that's unhealthy or unnatural. The pale curtains fluttered in the breeze. Because of the unexpected frost that spring, the flowers in my garden looked wan and wilted.
Thespian is another word for actor. Actor refers to someone who performs in plays, movies, or television shows. The actor forgot his lines during the first take. Thespian is a more formal or dramatic term for an actor, often used in the context of live theater. The seasoned thespian delivered her monologue with great emotion during the play's opening night. Both words refer to performers in the dramatic arts. Actor is the general term for a person who acts in various productions, while thespian is often used specifically for theater. She dreams of becoming an actor in Hollywood. The thespian scoffed at lowbrow comedies and only performed Shakespeare.
Fulminate is another word for criticize. Criticize means to express disapproval or find fault with something. The reviewer criticized the book for its lack of character development. Fulminate means to express vehement criticism or anger, often in a dramatic manner. At the city council meeting, the resident fulminated against the new policy. Both words describe strong expressions of disapproval or objection. Criticize can be used in more casual or everyday situations, while fulminate is more intense and often associated with formal or emotional outbursts. Her sister criticized the way she raised her kids. Frustrated by the flight delay, the customer began to fulminate at the airline staff.
Jollification is another word for celebration. Celebration refers to the act of marking a significant event or occasion, often with joy and festivity. The company had a big celebration for the CEO's retirement. Jollification refers to lively, cheerful festivities or celebrations, usually with a focus on merrymaking. The tavern echoed with jollification, as people clinked their mugs and laughed heartily. Both terms describe joyful events or gatherings. Celebration can encompass a wide range of events, while jollification specifically emphasizes a fun, exuberant atmosphere. The family threw a celebration for their anniversary. The beach was alive with jollification as friends gathered around the bonfire, singing and dancing.
Demure is another word for shy. Shy means being reserved or timid, particularly in social situations. The student felt shy when speaking in front of the class. Demure means being reserved or modest, especially in a delicate or understated way. With a demure tilt of her head, she accepted the compliment gracefully. Both words describe people who are not outgoing or bold. Shy is often used in more casual settings, while demure can suggest an elegant, almost old-fashioned reserve. My sister is shy when she first meets people, but she comes out of her shell quickly. He remained demure during the meeting, letting others take the spotlight while he listened attentively.
Surmise is another word for think. To think means to have an opinion or belief about something based on reasoning. I think this is the best Italian restaurant in town. To surmise means to guess or infer something without sufficient evidence. After seeing the dark clouds, we surmised that a storm was approaching. Both words involve mental processes of forming ideas or judgments. Think is more certain, while surmise indicates an element of uncertainty or speculation. Based on the reviews, I think the sequel will be better than the original. I surmise she'll be late because of rush hour traffic.
Impedimenta is another word for gear. Gear refers to equipment or items needed for a particular activity or task. He packed his gear for the camping trip. Impedimenta is equipment or baggage that slows someone down or gets in their way. The soldiers trudged through the forest, weighed down by their impedimenta. Both words describe the tools or items needed for a task. Gear is used casually to describe everyday equipment, while impedimenta describes equipment that is a burden or hindrance. I gathered my gear for the long hike. The explorers struggled with the heavy impedimenta during the journey.
Sumptuous is another word for grand. Grand means magnificent or impressive in appearance, usually due to size or importance. the grand chandelier hung from the ceiling. Sumptuous means luxurious, rich, or costly in appearance, often associated with lavishness. They dined in a sumptuous banquet hall with gold-trimmed walls. Both words describe something visually striking and impressive. Grand focuses more on size or scale, while sumptuous emphasizes luxury. The grand castle loomed over the countryside. The sumptuous feast was fit for royalty.
Correlation is another word for ratio. Ratio refers to the quantitative relationship between two numbers or amounts. The ratio of students to teachers is 20:1. Correlation refers to the statistical association or relationship between two variables. The correlation between study time and exam scores was strong. Both terms involve the connection between two things. Ratio is more numerical, while correlation is used when discussing patterns or associations, often in research or statistics. The ratio of apples to oranges is 3:1. The correlation between warm weather and ice cream sales is undeniable.
Accede is another word for agree. Agree means to share the same opinion or to approve of something. I agree with my neighbors that we should reschedule our barbecue. Accede means to give consent or approval, often in response to a request or demand. The teacher acceded to the student's request for an extension on his homework. Both words involve consenting or aligning with a view or decision. Agree can indicate approval in various contexts, while accede often suggests a more reluctant consent. I agree with the decision. He acceded to the proposal after much deliberation.
Abysmal is another word for bad. Something bad is undesirable or of poor quality. The weather was bad all week. Something abysmal is extremely bad or awful, often beyond what is considered acceptable. The service at the restaurant was abysmal. We waited for our food for 2 hours, and it was cold. Both terms describe something of poor quality. Bad is used more broadly to indicate poor quality, while abysmal emphasizes a truly severe level of inadequacy. The milk smelled bad, so I threw it away. The garden looked abysmal after months of neglect. It was overrun with weeds and dying plants.
Benefactor is another word for helper. A helper refers to a person who assists or supports others in completing tasks. She is a great helper when it comes to organizing events. A benefactor is an individual who provides support, especially one that's financial or charitable. The school received a generous donation from an anonymous benefactor. Both words describe someone who offers assistance. Helper can apply to anyone offering help, while benefactor often refers to someone who gives substantial or altruistic support. The kitchen helper quickly prepared the ingredients for the chef's next dish. The benefactor funded the new library wing.
Flounder is another word for stumble. To stumble means to briefly falter or make a mistake. The graduate stumbled over a couple of words during his speech. To flounder means to have a prolonged struggle, often marked by confusion, uncertainty, or lack of direction. Without proper leadership, the company floundered and had to declare bankruptcy. Both words describe a kind of difficulty. Stumble is often associated with brief missteps, while flounder can describe a deeper, more ongoing struggle. I was so nervous while delivering my presentation that I stumbled on a few words. They floundered in the new leadership role, overwhelmed by the responsibilities and unsure of where to start.
Chronometer is another word for clock. A clock refers to a timekeeping device, usually with hands and numbers. The cashier glanced at the clock to check the time. A chronometer refers to a precise, high-quality instrument for measuring time, often used in scientific or navigational contexts. The sailor relied on the chronometer to navigate through the storm. Both terms are used to measure time. Clock is a term for any type of timekeeping device, while chronometer is reserved for more specialized and accurate instruments. I checked the clock on the wall to make sure I wasn't late for my meeting. The chronometer ensured precise navigation during the space journey.
Apprehend is another word for arrest. Arrest means to take someone into custody by legal authority due to suspected wrongdoing. The police arrested the suspect after the chase. Apprehend means to capture or detain. The security guard apprehended the alleged shoplifter. Both words involve seizing or capturing someone or something. Arrest is specifically used for law enforcement actions, while apprehend focuses on capturing something or someone and doesn't necessarily involve the law. The police arrested the person after they broke into the house. She managed to apprehend her runaway dog just before it darted into the busy street.
Redoubt is another word for fort. A fort refers to a fortified structure designed to defend a place or military base. The soldiers took shelter inside the fort during the battle. A redoubt is a small, often temporary, fortification built for defense in a specific area. They set up a redoubt near the border to guard against enemy invasion. Both words refer to defensive structures. A fort is generally larger and more permanent, while a redoubt tends to be more temporary and is often built around an existing fort. The fort stood tall against the enemy. They hid in the redoubt until reinforcements arrived.
Opportune is another word for lucky. Lucky means having good fortune or being in the right place at the right time. I was lucky to find my keys on the beach after searching for hours. Opportune means occurring at a particularly favorable or advantageous time. It was an opportune moment for my friend to ask for a raise. Both words describe favorable circumstances. Lucky often refers to unexpected fortune, while opportune suggests a well-timed event. I feel lucky to live in such an exciting city. I just got a remote job, so it's an opportune time to adopt a cat.
Supersede is another word for replace. Replace means to take the place of something or someone. We replace the old lamp with a new one. Supersede means to take over or replace something due to being more effective, modern, or relevant. The new hiring policy will supersede the old one. Both words involve substituting one thing for another. Replace is neutral. It can mean the new thing is better, worse, or just different, while supersede implies improvement or greater relevance. They replace the broken chair. The new technology has superseded older methods.
Obsidian is another word for black. Black describes an achromatic color that lacks hue. She wore a black dress to the party. Obsidian refers to a glossy, glass-like black with a natural reflective quality. The obsidian tiles shimmered under the chandelier, catching every flicker of light. Both words describe a very dark color. Black can be matte or reflective, while obsidian specifically suggests a sleek, glassy depth. The makeup artist applied black eyeshadow for dramatic effect. The obsidian countertop gleamed like a still pool of ink.
Windfall is another word for blessing. Blessing refers to something that brings happiness or good fortune, often as a gift or favor. Having supportive neighbors is such a blessing in times of need. Windfall refers to an unexpected and often large amount of good fortune, typically in the form of money or benefits. The inheritance was a windfall for the family. Both words describe a form of unexpected good fortune. Blessing can refer to smaller, everyday gifts, while windfall usually implies something significant or unexpected. The sudden rain was a blessing, cooling down the hot summer day. The lottery winnings were a windfall for the couple.
Deface is another word for injure. Injure means to harm or damage something physically, often causing pain or impairment. She injured her ankle during the race. Deface means to ruin or damage the appearance of something, typically in a way that is intentional or malicious. The vandals defaced the statue with graffiti. Both words involve causing damage. Injure is more commonly used to describe harm to people or living things, while deface is generally used for damage to inanimate objects or structures. He injured his arm during the baseball game. They defaced the central bank side wall.
Statutory is another word for legal. Something legal is lawful or permitted by law. The contract was legal and binding. Something statutory is regulated by the law based on statutes. The statutory age for voting is 18. Both words are related to the law. Legal is a broader term used for anything allowed by law, while statutory specifically refers to laws that are enacted by legislation and regulated. The lawyer reviewed the legal documents. The state recently increased its statutory minimum wage.
Satchel is another word for bag. A bag is a container used for carrying items, often with handles or a strap. She packed her bag with everything she needed for the trip. A satchel is a small bag that typically has a structured shape and a shoulder strap. He carried a leather satchel to work every day. Both words describe containers used for carrying things. Bag is a more general term for various types of containers including backpacks and handbags, while satchel often suggests a specific style, such as a structured leather bag. He tossed the bag on the chair. The professor's new satchel looked stylish and professional.
Capitulate is another word for yield. Yield means to give up or give way to something. The manager yielded to her request for more time on the project. Capitulate means to surrender unconditionally, often after a period of resistance. The army capitulated after weeks of fighting. Both words involve surrender or giving in. Yield is often used in less extreme situations, while capitulate implies a more final or forced surrender. The tree finally yielded to the strong winds and came crashing down. The general capitulated to the enemy's terms.
Apex is another word for top. Top refers to the highest point or part of something. The hiker climbed to the top of the mountain. Apex refers to the highest or most important point of something, often used in a more figurative sense. The company reached its apex in the 1990s. Both words describe the highest point. Top is more commonly used for physical height, while apex is often used metaphorically or in more specialized contexts. After the storm, the top of the roof had some damage. Winning the prestigious award was the apex of my career.
Amelioration is another word for progress. Progress means forward movement or advancement, especially toward a goal. The team made significant progress on the website redesign. Amelioration refers to the improvement or betterment of a situation or condition. The city focused on the amelioration of its infrastructure. Both words describe improvement or positive change. Progress often implies continuous movement or development, while amelioration specifically refers to making something better that was in a negative state. My husband made progress in his fitness journey. Their efforts resulted in the amelioration of relations between the two countries.
Amplify is another word for raise. Raise means to lift or increase something, often in terms of quantity, level, or volume. They raised the flag at sunrise. Amplify means to make something louder or more intense, often by increasing its strength or significance. The speakers amplified the sound so everyone could hear. Both words involve boosting something or making it more prominent. They raised their voices in protest. The microphone amplified their words to the crowd.
Barbarous is another word for vicious. Vicious means intentionally cruel or violent. The vicious wolf lunged at its prey. Barbarous refers to something savage, brutal, or uncivilized, often associated with cruelty that lacks civility. The barbarous attack left the town in shock. Both words describe cruelty or brutality. Vicious is often used to describe aggressive or harmful behavior, while barbarous emphasizes savage, uncivilized cruelty. The opponent let out a vicious laugh as he watched his rival fall in the ring. The war involved many barbarous acts against civilians.
Bagatelle is another word for trinket. Trinket refers to a small, often inexpensive item, typically of little value. The child got a trinket in the gift bag. Bagatelle refers to a small, insignificant object or matter, often trivial or unimportant. The argument was a bagatelle compared to the larger issue at hand. Both words refer to something of little importance or value. Trinket is used to describe small physical objects of unimportance, while bagatelle can refer to both physical and metaphorical things of little value. She collected trinkets from her travels. The lawsuit was dismissed as a mere bagatelle.
Indignantly is another word for angrily. Angrily means with strong feelings of displeasure or hostility. He stormed out of the room angrily. Indignantly means in a way that expresses anger or displeasure, often in response to something perceived as unfair. She indignantly rejected the suggestion that she had anything to do with the mistake. Both words describe feelings of anger. Angrily is used for more general or emotional expressions of anger, while indignantly implies anger due to a sense of injustice. He responded angrily to the criticism. The toddler crossed his arms indignantly, believing he had done nothing wrong when he took the toy from his sister.
Effloresce is another word for bloom. Bloom refers to the process of flowers or plants producing blossoms. The roses began to bloom in the garden. Effloresce refers to the action of flowering or the process of fully blossoming. The cactus effloresced after the spring rains. Both words describe the act of flowering or blossoming. Bloom is an everyday word to describe flowers or plants opening up, while effloresce is a more scientific, technical term. The tulips bloomed in early summer. The researchers observed that the flower began to effloresce after the soil's moisture content dropped.
A factoid is a brief and usually unimportant or trivial fact. Factoid may also refer to an invented fact believed to be true because it appears in print. The book is really just a collection of interesting factoids.
Transpire is a formal verb that means to happen, or in other words, to take place or occur. It can also mean to come to light or to become known, as in it transpired that they had met previously. In botany, to transpire is to give off or exude watery vapor, especially from the surfaces of leaves. The monument will ensure that posterity will not soon forget the historic events that transpired on that day. It may yet transpire that ministers knew more than they are admitting at the moment.
Draconian describes something often a law, policy, restriction, etc. that is very severe or cruel. The editorial criticizes the draconian measures being taken by City Hall to rein in spending. The court handed down draconian punishments for the slightest infraction.
Schadenfreude refers to a feeling of enjoyment that comes from seeing or hearing about the troubles of other people. Schadenfreude was felt by many viewers when the arrogant contestant was voted off the show. A business that thrives on Schadenfreude.
Askew means not straight or at an angle, and can be used as both an adjective and an adverb. The picture on the cabin wall was slightly askew. The picture was hung askew on the cabin wall.
To career is to go at top speed, especially in a headlong manner. The tourists gripped their seats and exchanged anxious looks as the bus careered along the narrow roads. The vehicle careered across the road and hit a cyclist.
An emollient is something, such as a lotion, that softens or soothes. She keeps a number of oils in the bathroom, argan, almond, and coconut, to use as emollients.
Gregarious is used to describe someone who enjoys the company of other people. Justin's gregarious personality made it easy for him to get to know people at the networking event. He was a popular and gregarious man.
Wend is a literary word that means to move slowly from one place to another, usually by a winding or indirect course. Wending is traveling or proceeding on one's way in such a manner. Hikers wend along the marked trails to the top of the mountain, which provides a panoramic view of the area towns. We wended our way through the narrow streets of the city's historic quarter.
Imperturbable describes someone or something marked by extreme calm. Such a person or thing is very hard to disturb or upset. The imperturbable captain did not panic when the boat sailed into the path of a violent storm. Nothing disrupted the contestants' imperturbable focus.
Quark is a word used in physics to refer to any one of several types of very small particles that make up matter. Quarks, which combine together to form protons and neutrons, come in 6 types or flavors: up, down, charm, strange, top, and bottom.
Something described as multifarious has great diversity or variety, or is made up of many and various kinds of things. Multifarious is a formal word and a synonym of diverse. He participated in multifarious activities throughout college. The multifarious life forms in the coral reef.
Curfew refers to a law or order that requires people to be indoors after a certain time at night, as well as to the period of time when such an order or law is in effect. Chiefly in the United States, curfew is also used to refer to the time set by a parent or caregiver at which a child has to be back home after going out. No one is allowed on the streets during the curfew. Lana has a 10 o'clock curfew, so we need to bring her home right after the movie.
To bamboozle someone is to deceive, trick, or confuse them. The salesperson bamboozled us into getting a more expensive item than we had planned to buy. She was bamboozled into telling them her credit card number.
A stratagem is a trick or plan for deceiving an enemy or for achieving a goal. They devised various stratagems to get the cat into the carrier, but the feisty feline was wise to them all. Her stratagem for dealing with her husband's infidelities was to ignore them.
Rife usually describes things that are very common and often, though not always, bad or unpleasant. Rife is also commonly used in the phrase rife with to mean copiously supplied, or having a large amount of, full of. Unlike most adjectives, rife is not used before a noun. Speculation about who would be sent to the new office had been rife for weeks. The writer's history was rife with scandal.
A limerick is a humorous rhyming poem of 5 lines. My limerick received a prize for the funniest poem at the open mic night.
To admonish someone is to express warning or disapproval towards them, or to urge them to do something. We were admonished for arriving late to the meeting. They were admonished to take advantage of the opportunity.
A juggernaut is something such as a force, campaign, or movement that is extremely large and powerful and cannot be stopped. The team is a juggernaut this year, winning more games than any team before it has. Cemeteries remain largely untouched by the juggernaut of change.
Vernal is a formal adjective that describes something that relates to or occurs in the spring. It is such a relief after a long, cold winter to see the trees and flowers in their glorious vernal bloom.
To permeate is to pass or spread through something. The scent of lilacs permeated the room. A feeling of anxiety permeated the office as everyone rushed to meet the deadline.
Neologism can refer either to a new word or expression or to a new meaning of an existing word. I love seeing all the slangy neologisms that pop up on social media every year.
De rigueur is a formal adjective that describes things that are necessary if you want to be fashionable, popular, socially acceptable, etc. In other words, things required by fashion, etiquette, or custom. Dark sunglasses are de rigueur these days among fashionistas. Where I work, suits are de rigueur for all employees. To garble something, such as a word, name, message, etc., is to cause it to be unclear or distorted. This type of garbling can be the result of an accident, ignorance, or transmission error. Garble can also mean to so alter or distort as to create a wrong impression or change the meaning. I was so nervous I garbled their names. The connection was awful and kept garbling his voice. A hobbit is a member of a fictitious, peaceful, and friendly race of small human-like creatures that dwell underground. The story was filled with all sorts of imaginary people, including hobbits.
Something described as flippant, such as behavior or a comment, is lacking in proper respect or seriousness. The celebrity made a flippant remark when questioned about the scandal. It's easy to be flippant, but we have a serious problem to deal with here.
Archetype refers to someone or something that is seen to be a perfect example. It is also a word for the original pattern or model of which all things of the same type are representations or copies. The college's most popular philosophy professor is the archetype of the preoccupied academic, complete with the messy desk, disheveled hair, and brilliant theories. The film is considered a sci-fi archetype for its pioneering use of special effects and prosthetics to depict an alien world.
Derelict is a formal word that describes something that is no longer cared for or used by anyone. It can also describe someone who is negligent or who fails to do what needs to be done. The kids made sure to stay away from the spooky derelict houses in the neighborhood on Halloween. The officers were charged with being derelict in their duty.
To elucidate something is to make it clear or easy to understand. The writer elucidates complex medical findings for a general audience. The reasons for the change in weather conditions have been elucidated by several scientists.
Untoward is a formal word that describes something that is improper or inappropriate, or that is adverse or unfavorable. The medication is safe and effective, with no known untoward side effects. The investigation found that nothing untoward had happened at the event.
Penchant refers to a strong liking for something or a strong tendency to behave in a certain way. It is usually used with for. My penchant for mathematics helped me become an engineer. He has a penchant for adopting stray dogs.